This is page 6 at the top of the page. But in this lesson, since it's the first lesson in the book, I'm going to go ahead and cover pages 3 through 5 also. Just briefly cover them. We don't know what your background is in music or why you decided the piano or whatever. I don't know. I won't get into that. That's you decide that. But there's a lot of stuff we need to know and understand in order to play music intelligently. And I'm going to cover it. Now, if that's not what you're looking for, you can skip over the parts you don't like. That's what people usually do. But I need to cover everything because I have a wide audience, and one person wants this and another person wants this, so I just do it all. Starting on page 3, they talk about the beat. Music has a beat. You feel it. When you're dancing, you're feeling the beat. That's important. I'll talk a lot about beats. We have a lot of musical symbols which indicate how long notes should be held or how long you should be quiet, because music is made up of sound and silence both. So we need symbols to tell us that, and these symbols, music notation, has evolved over the years, but this is the one we're using today. They have a nice list there on notes and rest values and all that, and 2 counts and 4 counts. I don't know that I agree with that, but it works for now. I mean, it's like they're saying a whole note gets 4 counts. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But for us, for now, it's going to get 4 counts. But I would not bother memorizing that quite yet. I don't like lists. I'm not going to memorize a bunch of junk like that. You're going to use it so much, and I'm going to talk about it so much that we should cover it. You should get it eventually. Time signatures in the middle of the page. They have some examples there. There are many different time signatures. The top note can be pretty much anything. And the bottom note has to represent a note, a value of some sort. Other than that, anything goes. But if you understand how time signatures work, it doesn't matter what the numbers are, you can get it. And we'll talk time signatures as we go through the book too. Then at the bottom of the page, they have activities. I think that's wonderful. You go do the activities. I'm going to move on to page 4. On page 4, they talk about pitch. In music, we call pitch. It's how high or low a note is. Because we have notes in here, whatever. They're all different pitches. So I have this pitch, and I have this pitch. One pitch is higher than another, and that is it goes up or goes down. Well, that pitch is higher than that pitch. We just refer to these things. Which pitch is higher or lower or whatever. As long as you can hear that, that's fine. You don't have to remember what the pitches are. If you have perfect pitch or not, you might know what they are, but most people don't have perfect pitch. Most people would get what's known as an acquired pitch. You learn to hear it over time. And many people who have perfect pitch actually don't. They think they do, but they actually don't. But pitches, each key on a piano has a different pitch. That's its purpose. It has a different pitch. You might want that pitch in music. You might not. I don't know. Now let's go on down toward the bottom of the page. You see there's 2 sets of lines. There's a set of lines. There's 5 lines in a set. They go across the page. And under it, there's another set of 5 lines in a set. All right. Each 5 lines is called a staff. So there are 2 staves here. They are connected with a vertical line, goes all the way through both staves. That vertical line going through both means you're going to do the stuff in both staves at the same time. Okay. If the line did not go through both staves, then you'd do the stuff in each staff, 1 staff at a time. That's the difference. Now we have clef signs because we're going to put notes on these staves. As you can see in the middle of the page, they got all these quarter notes going up and down on this thing. Well, they're on a staff. We need to know which note in the staff is which key on the piano. We have to correlate those together. And the staves tell us that. They tell us which is which. Because if I had to look in the middle of the page, that first quarter note on the treble clef, well, technically that's an F. You'll learn that eventually. And on piano, that's an F. And that note in that thing is this F. It can't be any other F because there's a lot of Fs on the piano. When you see note in the music there in that space, you would play this key on the piano. They'd correlate them together. That's treble clef. Bass clef Look in the middle of the line, you see the bass clef, and then you have that space again, the same note, but it's a bass clef. Well, in bass clef, that note happens to be an A, and it's way down here. So when you would see that note in the music, you would play this note on the piano. That correlates them together, and the two stabs are different, obviously, because in treble clef, your F is here, the bottom space, and in bass clef, the bottom space is here. You said, why can't they just be the same? Well, because we got a lot of notes to cover, and one staff doesn't get it all. And this does. And when we get more into music, I'll be able to show you why it works a little more. I'm going to give you a few bits and pieces now, and we'll put them together to make the whole picture as we go through the book. So toward the bottom of the page, you have the two stabs connected together, and they have the clef signs. Those clef signs do not have to be those. Now in piano, we use treble and bass. That's what those clef signs are called. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But they don't have to be treble and bass. They could both be treble, or they could both be bass. It's anything goes pretty much. It's whatever the music needs. At the bottom, how to sit at the keyboard. Oh, this is a toughie. People don't agree on that. Actually, people don't agree on just about anything in music. No matter what I say, somebody will disagree with it. That's fine. I really don't care. I'm going to teach you as I was taught. So that's what we're doing here. Somebody else might teach you different, and that's fine too. I really don't care. But as far as sitting at the keyboard, you need to be comfortable and pretty much relaxed. Don't relax so much you fall off, but you sit up. You don't sit up at attention. You just sit up. Don't slouch. Bad idea. You want to sit up, and your hands should be able to reach most of the keyboard fairly easily. And you're not squishing up, and you're not far away. You're just at a nice distance where you can reach things comfortably. When you get to the extremes of the keyboard, it's important that you don't lean one way or the other. You turn and you reach, because part of playing as I teach it is balance. And this throws you off when you do that. It throws you out of balance. We don't want to do that. We want to stay balanced, and we just twist and reach. Now on page 5, they talk about the keyboard. Well, I don't have a lot to say about keyboards. You can see what they look like. They're arranged very neatly. White and black keys. You have groups of black keys. You have a group of 3, and that is all over. And you have a group of 2, and they alternate. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Big deal. The black keys tell us what the white keys are. And eventually, the white keys, once we know what they are going to tell us what the black keys are. It's kind of a circle. Now, when starting out, some people will put stickers on the keys or something to tell them what the name of the key is. I never had stickers. I had to there's only 7 of them to learn. If you can remember 7 of them, and they go up the alphabet from A to G in order. If you can just remember what those are, and I'll talk more about this in the future, you don't need stickers. However, I don't know your situation. If you need stickers, then you need stickers. But understand they're only temporary. You need to be taking them off, and I'll tell you when to take them off. Because it's important that you learn the names of the keys on the keyboard, the white keys. Eventually, we haven't got there yet. And they give you the names of all the keys, white and black. Well, not the whole keyboard, but it repeats. So, I mean, you have a group of 2 and 3, well, that repeats. So the names of the keys repeat. So there's only, as I said, 7 of them to learn. And that brings us to page 6. We're going to learn the first note, playing middle C. So that's wonderful. So what's the C and what's middle about it? As I said earlier, we use the first 7 letters of the alphabet, A through G. And C is one of those. On a keyboard, you find a group of 2 black keys. Any 2 bad, doesn't matter. And a C, any C, is at the bottom of them. A group of 2. We have C's all over the place. It's just everywhere. C's. That's your first note you need to memorize. The key on the keyboard, that is a C. C, C. You don't need a sticker or anything to tell you what it is. You just instantly know what it is. Below a group of 2 black keys is a C. That's 1. We only got 6 more to go. Now, middle C is the C that's in front of you when you're sitting in the middle of the keyboard. It's basically in front of you. It's close to the name. I don't know if you can see the name of this piano. It's right. Usually the name of the piano is right there. And the C is right close to you. It's not middle C because it's in the middle of the keyboard, because it's not in the middle of the keyboard. The middle of the keyboard is more like E, F to F here. It's along in there. That's middle, but C is a little under that. It's middle C because it's in the middle of the grand staff. What's a grand staff? Okay, go back to page 4. Toward the bottom of the page, they get those two staves, and they're connected with it's got a curly brace in front of it. The staves there's a curly brace. That is a grand staff. The curly brace identifies it as a grand staff. Any instrument that needs a lot of notes will use a grand staff. Pianos, harps, organs, whatever, uses grand staff. Middle C is in the middle of that staff. Now I'll go back to page 6. Look at the first line of music there. You have that staff going across and you have a treble clef. And that C is not in the staff itself, because those 5 lines, it's on a line under the 5 lines. They had to draw another line under it. So it is here. And it's simply up to you to remember now in music, when you see a note on that little line below treble clef, that's a middle C. When we get to the bass clef, I'll point out middle C again. This will make a little more sense. Just know that this note is on the keyboard is middle C, and that note in the music in this lesson is middle C. Not some other C, middle C. Now we need to deal with the rhythms, because there's 3 lines here, and they're all different rhythms. Rhythm is how long or short the notes are. Okay, types of notes. Think of a whole thing, something, anything, I don't care, a whole pie or a whole box or something. We have a whole note. Now, different countries will call them different things, but in the United States, we call them whole notes, so that's what I'm using. In this first line on page 6, and the first 2 notes shown are just empty circles. That's a whole note. So anytime you see an empty circle in music, it's a whole note. These whole notes happen to be on C. Okay? We don't call them whole C's or anything like that. It's just a C and it's a whole note. As far as how many counts it gets, that depends on the time signature. Remember time signatures? Isn't this fun? There's so much to remember, but I'll go over and over and over. And in a time signature, you see the numbers 4/4. Well, the top number tells you how far you have to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, 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 blah. The bottom number tells you what you're counting. If you're going to count something, it's nice to know what it is. And 4 represents quarter note, 1/4 of something. So there's 4 quarter notes in every measure. We haven't had measure yet. Measure's simple enough. It's the distance between those vertical lines. You have vertical lines throughout the staff there. Well, the measure is the distance between them. That's a measure. It's also called a bar. You can call it a measure or a bar, because those vertical lines, they could be called measure lines or bar lines. And I'm liable to call them either one. Same difference. Again, kind of depends on what country you're from or how you're using or whatever. So we could say the first 2 measures of this first line are both whole notes. And we're going to hold them down for 4 counts, because there's 4 counts in a measure. That top 4, I told you how far to count. It's also how many counts are in a measure, because we count at 1 measure at a time. So we would play that first C, and we will hold it down for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we go to the next one, and it's same thing. Hold it down for 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the next one, in the third measure, there's 2 notes in that, and it's an empty circle, but it has a line, a stem we call it, on each of those. Those are called half notes. Remember the whole? Cut a whole in half, you get 2 halves. Music works the same way. So if a whole note gets 4 counts, a half note's going to get 2. Why does a whole note get 4 counts? I'll come back to that. Just know that a whole note in 4/4 time gets 4 counts, or 4 beats. So a half note gets 2. You're going to have it down for 2 counts. So in that third measure, 1, 2, 3, 4. So each one was held for 2 counts. And then in the last measure, it's a whole note again. So if I play the whole line, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be the long and short of the notes. How long to hold each note down. And the beat is what I'm counting. The beat is steady, beginning to end, steady. The second line starts out with half notes again. Again, 2 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then in the second measure of the second line, we get a solid circle with a stem. That's a quarter note. A quarter note is 1/4 of a whole note. In other words, there's 4 quarter notes and a whole note. We take our whole, we divide it in half, we get half notes. If we take a half and divide it in half, we get quarters. Music counting is the same. It's to keep dividing in half or multiplying by 2. So a quarter note in 4/4 time gets 1 count, or it's the same as 4 quarter notes in every measure, whatever. So in that second line, second measure, each quarter note gets 1 count, and then the half note would get 2 counts, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the way it works. Huh? Then in the next measure, you get 4 quarter notes. Yeah, well, that's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a whole note. Well, to do the second line then is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. That's the second line. It tells us how long to hold the notes down or what the rhythm is. The third line is just, we have the quarter notes and the half notes and the whole note, but they're just in different orders. They could be in anything. Who knows? So the third line is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It just tells you how long to hold the notes down. Let me know if you have any questions. I've rambled on quite a long time because there's so much to explain, and I'm going to explain it again and again and again. And you get tired of hearing it, but it's really important. I'm not giving you anything extra. You got to know all of this junk, and you have to remember it from now on. So good luck on this. Take your time. No hurry, as far as I'm concerned. Take your time.